Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I apologize if this is, if the camera is framed a bit differently than usual. And also, I'm sorry the fact that, if I do not sound really well, because, I'm getting over a cold, and, I'm recording this fairly early in the morning, so that way I don't have any disturbances from my siblings, so. Because there really isn't anything coming out this week, I decided the fact that I'm gonna do, I'm going to pull a page from the book of Chris Stuckman, and I'm going to do a quick movie review, because I'm going to call it a mini movie review, in which I'm going to be basically just go over some movies that I saw this year that I just unfortunately have not gotten the chance to review yet. Some of them recent, some of them not so recent, but for the most part, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to basically talk about some films that I haven't gotten a chance to, and this isn't going to be like an in-depth video, but I'm pretty much just trying to speed run through all these. Okay, so we're going to be going in order of release from when I saw them, so here we go. First up, we have Dolomite Is My Name. Now, this was a Netflix movie that ended up coming out sometime around late October, and the plot of Dolomite Is My Name is, it's a biopic about Rudy Ray Moore and how he came up with the character of Dolomite and how he made the movie Dolomite. In fact, if I had to compare it to anything, I'd say it'd be the blaxploitation equivalent to Ed Wood. In fact, they even had the same writing team. Yep, the same people who wrote Ed Wood also wrote this movie. And the cast they got for this is absolutely great. You got Eddie Murphy in his first role in years. You got Wesley Snipes as Dervell Martin. You also got Chris Rock in there. You also got Snoop Dogg is also in there. You also got Craig Robinson, Michael Epps. Just so many talented people just brought onto this movie. And yeah, man, I really did enjoy Dolomite Is My Name. I thought it was an absolutely great. I thought it was a really good movie. It's very much like, I very much enjoy movies about making movies. Like, one of my all-time favorite movies is American Movie, which is a documentary about how this guy Mark Borchardt is trying to be able to make a movie, and it's a documentary about how he's trying to do it. And I also really, and some of my other favorite movies include Ed Wood and The Disaster Artist, which are very similar in the fact that it both focuses on these very strange and very interesting individuals and how they made the movie that they did. And Dolomite Is My Name, hold on a minute. But yeah, Dolomite Is My Name is very similar to that. I really did enjoy it. This is Eddie Murphy's best performance that he's done in years. It's just so good to see Eddie Murphy in another movie again. Hold on a minute. Like I said, getting over a cold, so yeah. So yeah, I really did enjoy Dolomite Is My Name. I think it's really good. Got Netflix, just watch it. So yeah, I'm going to give Dolomite Is My Name a 9 out of 10. So, the next movie that we have up is Frozen 2. Now, I like the first Frozen movie. I mean, sure, a lot of people have, gotten a bit sick of it because of how overexposed it is, but I actually did watch it, and it still is a good movie. The second one, however, is not as good as the first one. There were some character choices that I was not particularly very fond of, like the whole movie Kristoff is trying to be able to figure out the right moment to propose to Anna, and that's pretty much essentially what he's planning on doing for the entire movie. And you can pretty much see where this is going. There's going to be some moments in which he's trying to propose to her, and he's trying to say the right thing, but she misinterprets it, and he doesn't have a chance to actually ask her. Yeah, that's what I mean. Not only that, but the plot was a bit, at times, convoluted and a bit hard to follow. And some of the songs in here were definitely not very... They're not as good as the songs in the original one. Like, Olaf's song in this was definitely not as good as his song in the first one. Really didn't... I could tolerate Olaf in the original. I thought he was actually pretty decent in the first one. Here, I'm just more on Olaf. But there are still some things that I do really like about this. The animation is absolutely beautiful. The cast is obviously doing an incredible job with what they're doing. Not only that, but there actually are a few songs in here that actually are really good. Like Into the Unknown, which was probably the Let It Go of this film, is actually pretty decent. In fact, it was so good it even got a Panic at the Disco cover at the end credits. Yeah. But yeah, I really did enjoy Frozen 2. Not as much as the original one, I will admit, but I did enjoy it. So I'm going to give Frozen 2 probably a 7 out of 10. And next up, we have A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Now, this was a movie that I was really interested in seeing because it's a biopic about Mr. Rogers, but not in the way that you might think. You see, the movie itself... Hold on 1 minute. The movie follows a journalist for Esquire named Lloyd Vogel, who's based off of Tom Juno. He was hired to write a sort of an expose on Mr. Rogers, and the film pretty much chronicles sort of how his whole life was essentially just changed after meeting Mr. Rogers. And I think that that's actually a really good idea, showing the impact that Mr. Rogers has on people. Not only that, but Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers is probably one of the best casting choices I've ever seen. There's probably no other better choice than Tom Hanks to play Mr. Rogers. And they actually did do a lot of they probably did a lot of research on this because there was a lot of stuff in this film that actually did happen. Like in the trailers, you see towards the end, in which a group of people on a subway, they're singing the theme song to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and Mr. Rogers actually was there, and he saw them sing, and he was just so happy about it, And that actually did happen. Like, they actually did a documentary last year called Won't You Be My Neighbor, in which they actually did interview Tom Juno, the real guy who Lloyd Vogel was based off of. They did interview him, and he did state, yes, this did actually happen. I was on the subway with him, and then almost everybody there just started singing his theme song, and it was really something special. And not only that, but I'm really glad the fact that it has a PG rating, because I wouldn't imagine a Mr. Rogers film otherwise without a PG rating. But I did think the fact that it was very... Well, okay, so one of the main critiques that I sort of have with this movie is that the main character, Lloyd Vogel, is a very cynical guy and a very just not great guy. And you're supposed to be experiencing the film through sort of his eyes. And at times, it could be just really annoying in the fact about just how much of a jerk he just really is. It's like, what? But I do admit that the actor probably playing him is obviously doing his best with the material that he is given. So, yeah, overall, I did enjoy the movie. However, I think the documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, was just a bit better, and I definitely recommend seeing that. But you should still be seeing this film just to be able to see, Tom Hanks playing Mr. Rogers. And it's definitely a lot more interesting than the trailers have shown. Well, you'll know what I mean when you actually see the movie, but I'm going to give A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood a 7.5 out of 10. And now we move on to the final movie that we're going to be discussing today, which is Marriage Story. Now, this is a recent film it's a Netflix original movie. And it follows Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson as they play Charlie and Nicole, a couple who is currently going through a coast-to-coast divorce, with Nicole living out in Los Angeles and Charlie in New York. And it's just sort of chronicling, how eventually this couple tries to find some strong ground, like how they exactly trying to be able to figure out a compromise with the divorce. Like, they originally state the fact that they weren't going to do this with lawyers, but then eventually they do have to hire lawyers, and it's definitely making things probably a lot more painful and a lot more dragged out than this really needed to be. And the couple's just trying to be able to figure out what to do, because they also have a son, and they want to be able to figure out, what's best for him as well. Now, this film is absolutely incredible. Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson gave just absolutely incredible performances. And not only that, but there's Like, movies that deal with a breakup, you usually see the couple just arguing a lot. Here, they don't really argue all that much. They obviously try and carry out this in a normal situation, albeit there is some tension there, obviously, with the divorce, but there definitely is something there, and they really don't even blow up at each other. Like, they don't even argue with one another until towards the almost the tail end of the movie, with like 45 or so minutes left, and that whole scene in which they're just tearing into one another just because to get all their frustrations out is probably one of the best acted scenes I've seen all year. It doesn't even feel like acting. It legitimately feels like you're seeing this couple who is just going through some really hard times. And this doesn't even feel like acting. This just feels like a couple that's just actually just yelling at one another. And it can actually sort of get really unnerving about how real this arguing is. Like, it's ridiculous. And not only that, but it's actually shot really well. Like, towards the beginning of this movie, when Scarlett Johansson hires Laura Dern's character, who's her divorce lawyer, you see the fact that she's trying to describe, how she met Charlie, how she sort of felt like the fact that at first she felt really happy, but as the years went by, she just sort of felt like the fact that she just wasn't in it for herself. Like, as she put it, I wasn't really being happy, I was only helping his happiness. And the whole time, it's sort of done through this one long take, and then eventually, as Scarlett Johansson, she sits down on the couch next to Laura Dern's character, and then the camera just starts zooming in on her as she's sort of telling this story, and I'm like, huh, that's interesting. And the thing is, this doesn't paint either Nicole or Charlie as the bad guy. It doesn't do that. You spend some time with Nicole to understand her sort of mindset, and you spend time with Charlie so you can understand his mindset as well. It doesn't paint the other party as the bad guy. It would have been so easy to do so, but they don't. And I'm really glad that they did that. And not only that, but the only thing that I could sort of really say is a technical flaw is there's a scene towards the end of the movie in which Nicole is, doing a song number with her mother and her sister, and there's a mirror behind them, and in that mirror behind them, you can see the camera crew right there in the mirror, like you could see the guy, filming the camera, and yeah, it's obvious the fact that, you are going to spot stuff like that. Like, when you're having to deal with stuff that is very see-through, like glass, it can be very difficult to film stuff because you're trying to be able to figure out a way, okay, how exactly do we hide the crew? But my guess the fact is that they probably didn't have enough time to do so, or they're probably just so focused on the actual just characters that they don't notice. Like, in Chasing Amy, for example, there's a scene in which, after Ben Affleck and Joey Laura Adams' character, after they get into an argument with one another, you could see, Ben's character just walking by, and then you just see these two glass windows behind him, and you could see the camera crew as they're sort of filming Ben. But anyways, Marriage Story is definitely one of the best films I have seen all year. Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson gave Oscar-worthy performances. And if they do not get nominated for Oscars, I will be upset because they did absolutely incredible in this film. Scarlett Johansson just had an amazing year because she had Endgame, she was in Jojo Rabbit, and now she's in Marriage Story. And not only that, but Adam Driver himself, he's probably going to have a really great year too. He's in this. He's going to have The Rise of Skywalker. He has another movie out called The Report, which I think is available on Amazon Prime. But yeah, man, this is just a really great year, in my opinion, for movies. Sure, there were some films that were definitely weaker than others, but for the most part, I think overall, 2019 has been a really strong year for movies. Like, eventually, by the end of the year, you will see, my top 10 movies of the year. I'm not going to do a worst list because what would be the point? I don't want to talk about something that I don't like. Like, what would be the point of that? But yeah, I think Marriage Story is just an absolutely great film. I really can't think of anything particularly wrong with it. Like, I think I might actually give it a 10 out of 10 score. Like, I think Marriage Story might be it is a really great film. It's probably one of the best I've seen all year. And the performances from them are actually really great. And yeah, highly recommend you see Marriage Story. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my review, of course, my quick mini movie reviews, as I'm gonna call them. Stay tuned next week as I will potentially be reviewing Jumanji: The Next Level, and then stay tuned later on throughout the weeks, because in the next couple of weeks, because with Rise of Skywalker coming out, let's just say the fact that I currently have something planned in the pipeline. I won't say what, but I got something planned. So look forward to that, and as always, stay gold.